Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be doing a solo playthrough of Voidfall. And in this video, I'm going to be playing Map 8 from the Compendium, Fall of Civilization, and I will be playing as House Thegwyn, starting with Origin A, Terraforming. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am set up to play a solo game of Voidfall. I am playing as House Thegwyn today using the Origin A, which gives me Terraforming. So I've got my Origin car here, so you can see how that is set up. I am playing on Map 8, the final solo map from the base game Compendium. This is the Fall of Civilization. And so let's take a look at some of this. For House Thegwyn, I've got a special home sector here. So it has a farmer's guild built in, so I can actually get 3 guilds on my home sector and use it for safe haven building. So I think I am going to try and attempt that. I have one special focus card that is production that replaces my original production, and I quite like what this card is doing. We have 2 level 0 crises. I'm playing on hard mode. So we've got on the military track, I have 20 or more total combined production yield. I don't think that'll be too tough. I think I'm going to go a more economic route this game, so that helps. And then have 8 or more total glory value. I don't think I'll be doing that. You know, if you look around at this map, it's sort of a challenging map. There's a lot of, 1 glory tokens. There's a 2 and a 3 here, 4 and a 5 buried way back here. We've got harbingers on these 4 sectors. And then I have it set up the way it shows in the compendium, but you'll notice there's a wormhole A here and a wormhole A here. So this sector is connected to wormhole A, and so is this one, which makes this sector and this sector adjacent, even though there's a void storm between them. So this was just an oversight. It was something that was missed. I think maybe at some point in production they said one of these was a wormhole A and one was a wormhole B, which seems really interesting on this map. But I'm just going to remove this because it's actually not needed. But I didn't want you to think it was a mistake that it was missing. And for the technologies today, I drew houses Dunlork with energy cells and orbital docks. I drew Fenrax with carriers and central surveillance. I've got Novaris here with combat replicators and cybernetics, and then Cheveus with dreadnoughts and decontamination chambers. So that is a really interesting mix. We've got both dreadnoughts and carriers and cybernetics as well. Those are 3 of my favorite techs, and those are the 3 that do not have +4 influence. So that's the way it goes sometimes. And then from that tableau, we've got Cheveus on this Fallen House sector, and then Novaris on that Fallen House sector. And if we look at the improved techs available in Cycle 2 from left to right, we've got combat replicators, orbital docks, dreadnoughts, and carriers. So if we do want to get one of those 2 improved ship types, then we're going to need to do it by the end of Cycle 2. So that means we kind of need to make a decision sooner rather than later if we're going to go that route. There are no techs out there that modify corvettes, which if there were, I'd probably lean towards carriers, but given that, I'm probably leaning towards dreadnoughts. And in Cycle 1, we're going to have 4 turns. We drew We Are the Resistance, so we'll start going through that in a moment. Oh, gosh, and look at these tracks here. That's not where they start. I was trying to plan things out ahead of time. And then when I was setting up the heroic focus cards, I also drew heroic innovation. So I set that aside. We know we're going to see that now in Cycle 2. But in Cycle 1, we have heroic production, heroic leadership, and heroic development. And so let's take our origin card and slot it as our starting agenda. So 2 influence for each pure sector, 2 influence for each pure farmers guild. Of course, as House Thegwyn, our special ability is each time we deploy fleet power, we can treat we can treat farmers guilds as shipyards. So that only applies when deploying fleet power. So if you're doing something like the muster action, and that, it does pair with orbital docks. So if you've got orbital docks, when you can deploy 2 fleet power to each shipyard, when you're deploying, you're treating farmers guilds as shipyards. So you can deploy 2 fleet power to a farmers guild. So that's kind of cool. But it would not pair with something like deep space missiles, which is not in this particular game, but that allows you to do approach damage if you have adjacent shipyards. Because you're not deploying during that invade action, then your farmers guilds are just farmers guilds. And then we've got 3 safe haven tiles over here, a 2, a 2, and a 3 slot. So There's a lot to do. Only one rift on this map. Like I said, I think I'm going to go pretty hard on the economic route. I think my goal this cycle is to, by the end of this 4-round cycle, I want my home sector to get me a safe haven cube during the evaluation phase. I kind of went back and forth a lot looking at this Galactic event and only having 4 turns, looking at the rewards for this first cycle Galactic event, and I could do some of that stuff, but I think I will be best set up for the rest of the game if I don't accomplish either of those goals, and instead, if I just get this to safe haven level and be really just in these 2 sectors and be ready to invade after that. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of invading, but I think early on I probably want to get Dreadnoughts and then come take this Fallen House sector with House Cheveus, and then I may grab these easier sectors here, these 2 at some point, and potentially even that other Fallen House sector, but I don't think I'm going to mess with any of that stuff up there. If I was going to do any of that, I'd probably go to the Ancient Ruin sector, because that's a really cool sector, but it's going to take some firepower to get in there. But I'm not really trying to go wide this time. I'm trying to go tall, especially with these safe havens here. If I'm going to be working on this, if I do fill them up, that's going to be half my fleet power, so I'm not going to have much left to defend myself out here. So that being said, I really like some of the agendas on display. This supply agenda here looks awesome. 3 or more pure farmers guilds, and then score for each sector with 1 or more pure scientist guilds. I really want to go heavy farmers and scientists. And if I do that, I should be able to get science in my stockpile for this might agenda, and then score pretty well for each sector with 3 or more pure installations. And I think I can do some of that too. So I'll probably get these 2 agendas slotted. I don't know about this cycle, but probably next cycle. For now, I will grab my focus cards, and let's get started with the Cycle 1 Galactic event. We are the Resistance, so we need to add 1 Voidborn Fleet Power and 1 Value 1 Glory Token to an adjacent Voidborn sector. I've only got 1 adjacent Voidborn sector, this one. The Fallen House sector is not a Voidborn sector, so I don't have a choice. There's the Fleet Power. Here's the Value 1 Glory Token. Again, all sorts of special tokens and trays and other stuff out there. If you want any of that stuff, head over to Brain Bucket Games on Etsy. There's a link in the description. I'm one of the co-owners. So unless you're new to the channel, you know that by now. So go check it out. Now, we can either, each player, which is just me, of course, I can activate a fleet power, I can increase a pure population, or I can build a bankers guild. Now, increasing population is good for this top goal of have 10 or more pure population. Adding a bankers guild is helpful for this bottom goal of have 3 or more pure bankers guilds. I don't think I'm going to accomplish either of those, but I will increase the pure population in my home sector. I will go from 2 to 3, and that means my energy production will go up by 1 level, and my yield went up from 1 to 2, and my food production will go up 1 level. So from level 4 to 5, my yield remained at 3. So now we're ready to start. Let's get the first alert card. So we have a level 1 alert. Let's get the crisis card. And we have a military crisis, burning bridges. After you build a guild, choose to also remove a bounty token and a reclaim token from the map. Interestingly, there is only 1 starting bounty token on this map. So I can do that. I'm sure I'll accomplish that. That's not too big a deal, but won't be able to remove any other bounty tokens if something like that comes up again. But I will start with my special production card. It's a pretty cool card. I plan to make use of the bottom part later. If I'm going heavy on farmers guilds and scientist guilds, I can produce both those things with 1 action and hopefully double overproduce to build levels of safe haven. But I'm going to skip that action. This time I'm going to take the top action and the middle action. So the top action is free, advance on my society track. So that goes up, and it's not corrupted, so that symbol there means it can go up again. And that symbol there means I can remove a corruption. I'm going to take this one off my house mat. With this starting origin, I have a corrupted outpost as well. But I think later I'm going to be playing this progress card, and this allows me to recall a fleet power from the map to then remove a corruption from that sector. So that's why I want to remove this corruption now and leave that one there, because I can remove it later. If I take that one now, then later I still want to do this whole action, but if I pull the fleet power back, I won't be able to remove the corruption from my house mat that way. So that was my first action here. My second action is going to be the middle one. So it costs 1 food. I go from 4 to 3, and 1 material, also going from 4 to 3. And I can either remove a corruption or advance my statecraft track. I will advance statecraft, and then I can activate 1 fleet power. I think that's really interesting on the production card to be able to advance on 2 of your tracks. That's really unusual, really cool. So that's it for the first turn. So now I have to deal with this crisis. I'm going to make it ongoing. So we're going to slide down this level 0 crisis, put this on the board, remove the alert card, and now we draw the alert card for turn 2. We have a level 2 alert. Let's get a level 2 crisis card. We've got an economic crisis. This is investing in people. Before you advance your society track, which is the one I just advanced, choose to also spend 2 science or 2 credits. And the immediate penalty I could take at the end of this turn is to spend 4 energy. Okay, not really into any of that. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I will play Prosperity as my second card. I don't think I'll be taking any of these heroic cards this cycle, unfortunately, because they're pretty cool. But I want to play Prosperity because I have Terraforming, and when you have Terraforming, then when you play Development or Prosperity, then you can spend a material to increase a pure population. I want to try and make use of that. So let's start with that Terraforming action. I'm going to spend 1 material. I go from 3 to 2, and I can increase a pure population now. So I'm going to go from 3 to 4 in my home sector. So that makes my food production level go up 1, which also made the yield go up to 4. Same thing for energy. The production level goes up to 4. Yield has now gone from 2 to 3. So my total combined yield for this crisis here is 4, and 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So not quite halfway there, but that'll keep going up. Now let's take this top action, Flourish. And so that will cost another material. I go from 2 down to 1 material, and I can advance my economic track, and that gains me a trade token. And for my trade bonus, I will take the bounty token. And so all the bounty tokens or reclaim tokens on the map are just 3D printed blanks. All the original cardboard ones are in these draw bags. So I can just pick one, and we get 1 food and 1 material, or 1 influence, but I'll take the resources at this point in the game. So I'm up to 4 food now and 2 materials. I really like getting that material. That's very helpful. And I'm going to take the bottom action. I need to deactivate a fleet power and spend 1 energy. I go from 2 to 1, and 1 material. I go from 2 to 1. And now I can gain an agenda card and build an installation. So let's do the installation first. I'll put a sector defense here in my outpost. And for the agenda, I'm going to take this face-up might agenda. I like that one quite a bit, and I do plan on playing Progress. So let's flip this back over. So I want to try and get a lot of science on my stockpile and a bunch of installations. However, I don't think I'm going to score either of these things this cycle. I think I'll be approaching those things. I think I will be ready to score this one this cycle, but I don't plan on playing Conquest or Reinforcement. So I would rather take this one and get an action for it this cycle and just pick that one up later. If I'm not going to really score either of them anyway, I'd rather at least get an action. And so as for this crisis now, I could pay 4 energy to make this go away. And I've got 1 energy and 3 credits. So it would deplete all my energy and credits. And I think I'm going to need at least 1 credit remaining this cycle, not to mention having to pay for this board here. So I don't really think I want to do that. I don't want to spend it. I could change my plans. When I play Progress, I'm planning on advancing my lowest track. I could switch to a trade token to then get 2 more materials or energy that way, but I don't think I really want to do that. And I could probably take care of it later if I made it ongoing, but I don't know if I want that much stuff on my economic track, really. So it could be worth it to take the Catastrophe token. I've already got a plan to get rid of my only other corruption, but Catastrophe could let me take 5 resources, and my resources are a little tight, so that would be really helpful. I'd probably just take 5 credits. Or actually, I might take 1 or 2 science to be able to score this agenda as well, which would not be so bad. That would give me 7 influence. That's just in cycle 1. If I make it ongoing, so this would slide and this would go here. So now I need to spend more science on my economic track, at least once at the end of the cycle, if not again if I draw a war card before this cycle's over. And then I'm kind of committing myself to advance that track in cycle 2, which is not the end of the world. I would like to advance it, get into tier 2, get a basic tech. It's not a bad thing, but then I'm going to be spending probably 2 science rather than 2 credits when that comes up. And I don't know if that's what I want to do. That's going to make it kind of resource tight. So I know it's kind of early, and this one's not super detrimental, but let's take a catastrophe token and use it to jumpstart my economy. So we're just going to clear these with a catastrophe. So I gain 5 resources. I'm going to take 4 credits. So I go, 4 science. So I go from 2 to 6. And then 1 credit. I think that's what I need to do to be able to score for this agenda in cycle 1. So hopefully I've mathed everything out correctly. So that's going to be another 20 influence at the end of the game. But, if I score this in 3 cycles instead of 2, just this right here, that goes from 14 influence to 21. So, just that scoring criteria between now and the end of the game could offset that whole catastrophe token. So now I also need to slot this trade token that I got. That can sit there. But anyway, hopefully that was a good explanation for, why you might want to take an early catastrophe. I know when I started playing Voidfall, I was super hesitant about it. I kind of see that behavior online from other people. So just walking through why this is actually not such a bad thing. And you really, if you're playing on hard mode, you need to expect to take at least 1 catastrophe every game. There's nothing wrong with taking 2. You just have to learn when to take it and how to mitigate it. So let's keep going now. I'm going to draw the next alert card. Upside down. And we have a war card. All right, so we're going to be going to war this time. I think we'll be okay. And my plan was to play development, not the heroic development, because I was just going to take this action. And the difference in those 2 routes would really be I was going to build a guild and increase a peer population. This gives me a guild and a population, plus remove a corruption from a sector and put an installation in that sector. So I was going to remove the corruption anyway. That doesn't really help. So I'm basically getting an extra installation as opposed to this, and it's costing me 1 more material. I was hesitant to do that because I was pretty low on material, but now I gained a credit from that catastrophe token. So I can probably make heroic development work. And the extra installation will help me for this combat. Not that I need it. I think I'm only skirmishing at 2 anyway because I've got no corruption on my house mat. So if 2 Voidborn Fleet Power came in here right now, they would lose 1 on the way in, and then the initiative would be 2 to 1, so I would fire first. They would not be able to return fire. So I'm already winning the combat, but maybe I put an installation there anyway just to get closer to scoring this scoring criteria on this agenda too. So what the heck? We'll take heroic development. I am not using my trade token though. And so we'll start with the bottom action. Or will I? You know what, let me start before I forget with terraforming, because this is development. I spend my last material. I've got no more material, and I can increase a peer population. I'm doing that at home again. I go from 4 to 5. So now my production levels go up for energy, goes from level 4 to 5. My yield remains at 3. And for food, my production level goes from 6 to 7, and my yield remains at 4. And if I put a guild down using this and increase a peer population, I'll do that here at home, so that'll get to 6. It'll have 3 peer guilds. That's great. I'll only have 1 guild slot left. I could use a trade token to fill that guild slot, but I do plan when I play my next focus card to use progress and advance my lowest track. And I'm going to choose statecraft, and then I'll be able to place a farmer's guild. And if I do both of these now, I won't have any place left to put a guild. And I do really want to advance that statecraft track, because then next cycle I'll have the ability to play production again, and I can advance both of these tracks simultaneously to get a basic tech and then another tech. So I want to be in that position. So yeah, I'm going to start with this top action. That's going to cost 2 materials. Amount of materials, I'm going to spend 2 credits. I go from 4 down to 2. And now I can increase a peer population and build a guild in the same sector. So I'm going back to the home sector, going from 5 to 6 peer population. That makes the levels go up again. So energy level goes to level 6. Production yield is now 4. Food goes from level 7 to 8, and yield goes from 4 to 5. That puts my total yield at 5 and 4 and 1. I am at 10, so halfway to this goal. And now, as I said, I plan next turn to advance my statecraft track and build a farmer's guild. So that being said, I want to build another scientist's guild now to try and get my stockpile up, to try and get up for this scoring criteria that I'm going for later, a pure science guild in every sector I can get it. So I'm going to put one here. And it's got to go, in the same sector where I just increased population. So I'm putting that at home. Now I need to adjust my dials. So science production is at level 2 and a yield of 1. Now it goes up to level 8, yield of 5. which makes my total yield 14, across all my resources for this level 0 crisis. Now I built a guild, so I'm going to remove a bounty token and a reclaim token from the map. I'll just leave that one sector back there with 2 reclaim tokens. And now I can remove this military crisis, so this goes back down. That makes a skirmish even easier. I was going to win it anyway, but this is not hurting. Now I will take this bottom action on heroic development, spend 1 science. I go from 6 to 5, and I can build an installation and remove a corruption from the same sector. So I will do this sector. Removing corruption here is a little bit unnecessary because I kind of plan to do that anyway. But if I can do it early, I guess I might as well. Here's the installation, another sector defense. There are no star bases in the tech offer this time, and I really don't have a reason to build shipyards. Because there's no deep space missiles or anything, and all my farmers guilds count as shipyards. I'm going to score for farmers guilds, so I might as well focus on building farmers guilds and shipyards. So it's really just going to be all sector defenses all day today. And so that's it for my focus actions. I'm going to remove the heroic focus card, and now we need to deal with the war card. So first, we have our military row. We're going to skirmish at a total of 1. 1 Voidborn fleet power comes into this outpost sector, takes approach damage, goes away. We win the combat. When we successfully defend, we need to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So that's got to be here. That's the only option. For as not very appealing as this sector is, it's sure well defended. Now I need to resolve this economic track. I guess I didn't think about that. That's fine for now. That's a material and an energy. I have 1 energy. And I don't have any materials, so I spend a credit. But now I have 0 energy, 0 materials, and 1 credit. So when it comes to the evaluation phase, I'm not going to be able to afford this. That's something I've got to watch out for. But the crisis is now done. So let's grab 1 more alert card. We have a level 1 alert, and it's a military crisis. After you build a sector defense, choose to also spend 1 energy. You may not use credits. Oh, man. And I just built one of those, didn't I? And the immediate penalty is I could add 1 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. Well, that's not a great draw right now. I'm sure I can easily take care of it later. But now I'm evaluating. Do I want to continue playing progress? My idea here was I was going to use this. Well, I guess I was going to use my trade token, produce science, and then spend a couple to get dreadnoughts, put 1 in my home sector, which is what the card lets you do. And then I was going to remove this corruption and regroup to move that dreadnought over to be ready to invade at the beginning of the next cycle. And I was going to pair that whole thing with this agenda to advance my lowest track to again get here on the statecraft track. But now I'm wondering if I'm in sort of a crisis board mess and if I should instead play heroic leadership, wherein I could still play this agenda card, but I could remove a crisis card, and I might get rid of this one, honestly, on my economic track. And then I could take a preferred focus action off of either production or development. And by doing that, I could take the free action on production to advance my society track to move it up to here to then get a basic tech, and I could get dreadnoughts that way. I just wouldn't be able to regroup to move it, so I'm going to have to do that sometime in cycle 2 to be able to start moving around here and taking some sectors. And maybe if I do that, I'll still pair the agenda, but maybe I'll take the trade token as well, just to cut back on my upkeep and then grab a couple resources. I don't know if that's exactly all stuff that I want to do. I kind of wanted to save this basic and improved for a single action. That would have been really great, but this card's just not appealing to me anymore. The only issue is I took all that science from the catastrophe token, and now I'm no longer going to be producing science, so I'm not going to score for that after all. So that's kind of a bummer. I wonder, could I maybe instead of this, could I take this top action to build a level of safe haven, which is a little bit expensive? Actually, it's very expensive. I don't think I want to do that. But if I did that, then in the evaluation phase, when I build a second level of safe haven for my home sector, I could immediately gain one of those bonuses. I don't need to remove corruption. Removing the Harbinger is a good move long term, but I could deploy, I was thinking 2 dreadnoughts, but I think between the cost of that action and not producing anything, I'm going to be pretty low on resources. So I don't know that I'd be able to afford the materials that the dreadnoughts cost. So, okay, I think I'm going to take heroic leadership. I'm spending progress to do that. I will pair it with this agenda. I'm not going to spend a trade token. Yeah, I got to start producing stuff. I'm getting really low on resources. That's not great. All right, here we go. I'm going to start with the agenda action. I'm going to take a trade token. Whoopsie, move the whole board. So I'll take a trade token, and for the trade bonus, I am going to take 2 materials. So here we go. I'm up to 2 now. And then I will spend 1 material to take this bottom action. So I'm down to 1 material. And I am going to either remove a Harbinger or a Crisis. I'm going to remove this level 0 Crisis to have 8 or more glory value. So that's really good for my economic track. I think that's worth it. And this middle action, this is a heavy cost. I'm not making full use of this. I've removed too much corruption. What a problem to have. But I'm going to spend this value 2 glory token. Now I can remove a corruption. I don't have any to remove. And I can take an action off a preferred focus. And I will take... where'd it go? This free action here off of production, which is preferred to advance my society track and gain a basic tech. And I am hurting for resources, so I'm considering cybernetics, but I think I'm going to probably stick with my plan and just do dreadnoughts. So I think very quickly I'm running out of guild spaces here, and so I'm going to need another sector to get into to start expanding some more. So all right, we'll grab dreadnoughts, but cybernetics is still looking really good. So we're taking this. So now I can deploy into Dreadnought fleets, and my immediate bonus is I can deploy Dreadnought to my home sector. So let's go ahead and do that. That does cost 1 material. So I've got 1 material here. Let's spend it. Goes down to 0, and we'll deploy a Dreadnought here. Okay, I did that sort of via this. So I've done these 2 actions. I've done this. So that's the end of the turn. I will make this crisis ongoing because I think I will shortly be able to build a sector defense and spend 1 energy at the same time, so I'm not too worried. So this is kind of an interesting scenario where I'm trying to play more economically, but also I've added a lot of stuff to my military track, and I needed to empty the economic row, so that's unusual. I'm going to slot this agenda now, and I'm going to place a trade token on it. I'm not going to score anything for that agenda, sadly. The heroic leadership card goes away, and I slot this tech, and that is it for my turns this cycle. So now we go to the evaluation phase, starting with the crisis board. So I need to skirmish at a total of 2. This is the only valid target. They both get hit on the way in, so I win the combat. The economic row, I have no penalty to pay, so that was a pretty good evaluation of the crisis board. Now I need to pay upkeep. These 2 slotted agendas have trade tokens, so no upkeep there, so just 1 for these 3 guilds. These are both not filled enough yet, so only 1 upkeep. That's pretty good. So I'm going to go from 4 down to 3 food. There was a scenario where if I had played progress, this could have been as high as 2, 4, 5, 6 upkeep. That would have been a problem. I only had the 4 food. So leadership was probably a good idea. Now we evaluate for safe havens right there. And I do have a 6 population pure sector with 3 guilds, so I can build 1 level of safe haven. We'll do that right there, starting with the shorter ones because I want to get the reward sooner. I think that makes sense. Now we evaluate the Galactic event. We do not have 10 or more pure population. We have 8 pure population. We have 0 pure bankers guilds, so I don't meet either of those criteria. I know that was kind of the plan, but it still makes me sad. Now we score the agendas. This is not going to be great either. 2 influence for each pure sector. I have 2 of those, so I go from 10 to 14. And 2 influence for each pure farmers guild. I have 2 of those, so it's another 4 influence. I am at 18. And this agenda won't score anything. I get 7 influence for 8 or more science in my stockpile. I'm only at 5 because I didn't produce any. I was planning to produce some. So that really hurt. And then I never got a 3rd installation here, so that's not going to score either. So the end of cycle 1, my total score is 18 influence, which is pretty abysmal. But it was a shorter cycle, and I'm hoping I've set myself up for success, especially knowing that there's another agenda card already out that I intend to get. Like I'm prepared to score for it. I've set myself up to be able to score for this in future cycles. So wish me luck. Let's see if I can pull it off. So we're going into the preparation phase for cycle 2. So I will pause for a moment while I do all the preparation steps. Again, I'm going to refresh all the heroic cards. I'm going to refresh everything I need to do on this reminder card here. So add new alert cards to the deck, add a Harbinger to the crisis board somewhere. I will remove a trade token from the Galactic board, remove the tech blocker from the Galactic board, replace the Galactic event with the cycle 2 Galactic event from the top of the deck, and then I'll get my focus cards back and add innovation into the mix, and we know heroic innovation is coming as well. So stick around while I do all that, and I'll see you in cycle 2. Here we go. All right, so it's cycle 2 now. I've got some worries about this game. I think I made a mistake earlier when I took dreadnoughts in place of cybernetics. I should have done that in the other order, and I think that's going to hurt a little bit. But I added my harbinger here to the economic row, and I really considered putting it on the military track of the crisis board. Because I think I'm going to solve both of these, but I think it's going to be later in the cycle, and I just don't know if I want it lingering, in part because of the Galactic event. So the Galactic event is Adapting Darkness, and this one says each player can produce 2 different resources, and then ongoing for this cycle, for each improved technology a player has, the Voidborn side gains 1 salvo absorbed during each skirmish. So I do plan on getting improved technologies before I plan on getting rid of these 2 crises. So I think I'm going to leave that harbinger on the economic row, but it does frighten me either way. So we've got 5 turns in this cycle. I don't think I'm going to achieve that top objective for the Galactic event, to have 8 or more total glory value. That's I don't have any glory right now, so I don't see that happening. So I guess I'm going to aim for the bottom one and just try and have active fleet power, because for each active fleet power we have here at the end of the cycle, we'll get 3 influence. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So let's start with the Galactic event. We need to produce 2 different resources, and I think I'm going to do energy to get 4 energy. I go from 0 to 4, and then it's either going to be food or science, and I don't really know. I think I'll do food. I don't really have a great need for either. I need a lot of energy, materials, and credits, which I don't have any. I don't have any way to produce any materials or credits. I've got 1 credit, no materials, so that's the bottleneck right now. But for my second production, I'll do food. So I go from 3 to 8. Certainly not bad. And so now we can get started. Let's draw the first crisis card, or the first alert card rather. It's a level 2 alert. Let's get the crisis card now. And we have a general crisis. This is panic in the fleet. After resolving a conquest focus, choose to also recall fleet power twice from the map. Yeesh. Or I could remove 2 non-home installations. I don't really want to do that because of the scoring criteria. So this one's we're not off to a great start, but I think I'm going to start by playing Temptation. If there's one weird problem we've had, it's that we've had corruption removal going to waste because I don't have enough corruption. So I think I should take some corruption. So I'm going to do the bottom 2 actions. I'll start with the middle action. I'm going to add a corruption to this sector as the cost. And I can advance any 1 track, and I can do a Galactic Peak. And so I'm going to advance this Statecraft track, and that allows me to build a Farmer's Guild. So that's going to go right here, and that will make my food level go up. So it goes from level 8 to level 10. The yield goes from 5 to 8. That's pretty good. And now we do the Galactic Peak. I grab the top 2 events from the Cycle 3 deck. Let's see what we've got. We've got the Last Stand and Wind of Annihilation. Which one of these do I want to see next round? So Last Stand is going to be 1 more turn. That could be very helpful since we have such a short Cycle 1. But we would take 2 corruption to our agenda slots if able. Add a 3 value glory token on a Voidborn or Fallen House sector. That is interesting. And then we could deploy or build a guild. I kind of like most of that. And then during the evaluation phase, we could score a pure agenda, which essentially means we would, during this phase and then this phase, we could pick our best non-starting pure agenda and score it twice. So that's pretty great. Or score 3 influence for each corruption on the house mat. Hopefully that goes down to 0. Or we could do Wind of Annihilation. Only 5 turns. We'd still take a corruption to our house mat if able. So we're corrupting our house mat either way. And then at the end of each player's first turn, they must resolve a skirmish with one additional Voidborn fleet power. And then we can either advance a track and increase a pure population, which is pretty good, or we could deploy 3 fleet power, which are both pretty strong. But I do like that if I'm going for this part of this Galactic event where I'm trying to have a lot of active fleet power, that I would then start the next turn by having the option to deploy 1 to 3 fleet power. And then the scoring criteria here is during the Galactic event part of the cycle, we would score 1 influence for every pure sector with 4 population, 3 influence for every pure sector with 5 population, and 6 influence for every pure sector with 6 population, Or alternatively, we can gain 5 influence for each peer sector after the first 4 sectors. So the real question is, I don't think this bottom part is good for me. I'm not going to go that wide. But for the top part, would that score better than whatever my best non-starting pure agenda is? And I don't think so. I think I'm keeping the last stand. That's a pretty easy decision overall. So the good news is we get the event we wanted. I guess the bad news is that was already that was the one on top already. So that would have happened without me taking that action. But at least I got to advance a track. I built a guild. It's fine. Now we'll take this second action here, or my second action for the turn, the third on the card. I'm taking another corruption. I'll put it here on my house mat on an agenda slot. I can activate a fleet power. I can deploy a fleet power to my home sector and produce 2 different resources. And when I deploy, I'm going to deploy a Corvette. I don't really have the resources to be messing around with more dreadnoughts right now. That's okay. Another fleet power on the map is good. Produce 2 resources. I think I'll start with food. I have 8. I'll produce another 8. So that's going to go to the max, and I've overproduced food. So that gets me 3 influence, which I really need. So I go from 18 to 21. It's a far cry from where I need to be, and I need to produce one other thing. I have 5 science, and I could produce 5 more. I can't produce any credits or materials, and I have 4 energy, and I could produce 4 more energy. Which one do I think I'm going to spend more of this round? Actually, I don't think I'm going to spend that much more of either, but let me do energy. I go from 4 to 8 now, just because I'll need to spend one here at some point. And, I might need it for some of this too. So, all right, that is it for temptation, huh? So now I need to do something about this crisis card. I really don't like it, I guess, except for the fact that I want a bunch of active fleet power at the end of the cycle. And this would get me 2 fleet power from the map back into my active area, which would score. So I guess I do want to accomplish it. I don't really want to get rid of these installations. That would be dangerous. So which track do I want to put this on? I think at this moment, I'm going to put it on the economic track. But I'm a little nervous with this crisis board right now. So let's draw our second alert card for the cycle. It's another level 2 alert. So we get a level 2 crisis. It's an economic crisis. Progress by the shadow. Advance a track while that track is already corrupted. I don't plan on doing that. Otherwise, we can pay for resources at the end of this turn. I think I have the resources to do that now. So I suspect I will pay the resources. I'm going to stick with my plan. I'm going to play innovation to play heroic innovation, which we knew was coming. And I'm going to spend a trade token to take all 3 actions. So let's just start at the top. I'm going to spend 4 resources. I'm going to spend 4 food, I guess. I go from 15 down to 11. And now I produce credits and science. I don't produce any credits, but my science goes from 5 to 10. And maybe I should have spent a little less food. Just 4 resources of any type. Maybe I'll spend 2 food and 2 science. So this will be down to 8. That's more than enough science. I want to keep some food. And now I can gain a basic tech. And this is going to be kind of a waste at this moment, but I'm going to gain cybernetics. It's kind of a waste because I don't get any influence from it. And the immediate effect is I can build a guild, and I have no empty guild slots. So that just gets tucked with no effect right now, which really hurts. That stings. And in fact, when I went up here, I knew this was coming. I should have just not taken that and then built the Farmers Guild now and gained 2 food. But oh well, I messed that up and I'll live with it. So from now on, when I build a guild, you may gain 2 resources matching that guild type. So that's done. Fine. Now we'll do this middle action here, which has no cost. Gain an improved tech and remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. So here's an adjacent sector. We'll take this Voidborn fleet power out. That doesn't really do much for me, but now I gain an improved tech, and I do have 1 unlocked. I was going to grab dreadnoughts because that would let me activate a fleet power and deploy a dreadnought anywhere. I was going to put one here to prepare to invade, but maybe I don't need to. Maybe I would be better off just grabbing improved terraforming now while I'm playing innovation focus so that I can get a use out of it. Oh, but I don't have a pure sector because I foolishly put that there. I should have just put it on my house mat like I planned on. And I'm just tripping over my own feet this game. I'm making a lot of silly mistakes. Things where I should have known better because I've planned this all out and I've done it in the wrong order. Well, fine. I'll gain improved dreadnoughts then. It's a little bit poor planning, but here we are. 6 influence for that. I go from 21 influence to 27. And I can activate a fleet power. and I can deploy a fleet power as a dreadnought. So I will do that. Oh, wait, no, I won't. Oh my God, I'm doing really poorly today. I have no materials and I have 1 credit and I need that credit. Gosh, what is happening? You know what? Forget dreadnoughts. I'm going to deactivate that fleet power back here. I'm going to put dreadnoughts back. I'm going to keep the 6 influence and just take terraforming instead. So I got my 6 influence. I'm going to advance on my econ track, gain a trade token. And for that trade token, I'm going to gain 2 credits. I think that'll open some things up. I need that. Now, unfortunately, I could afford to get the dreadnoughts, but I've taken my tech already, so that's a shame. All right, let's take this bottom action now. It costs 2 resources. I'll spend 2 science. I go from 8 down to 6. Then I gain an agenda card, and I can remove a crisis card. So for the agenda card, I'm going to take this one that I've been eyeballing, this support agenda. Let's see, the next one. And for the crisis card, I'm going to remove this one. I really don't want to have to recall fleet power if I don't have to. So this one's going away. So that's the end of heroic innovation. Let's get rid of the heroic focus card. And we're going to slot this earned trade token right here. We're going to take the spent one and put it back on the Galactic board. And I got to figure out what to do about this crisis. I'm not going to make it ongoing. I'm going to spend the resources. And so for the 4 resources, I think I'll spend 2 food, go from 13 down to 11. Actually, you know what? I'm going to spend 4 food, go all the way down to 9. That should be just fine, actually. So this goes away. This alert card goes away. I'm having a heck of a playthrough. Let's get the next alert card. It is a level 2 alert, so we need a crisis to match. So we have an economic crisis, debts come due. Before you return a trade token to the Galactic board, choose to also spend 2 credits. Otherwise, I can add a Voidborn fleet power to each open rift, which is fine, but also deactivate 1 fleet power. That hurts a little bit, so I don't really want to do that, but I don't know that I got the spare credits either. So let's play Conquest to take Heroic Conquest. Need to get that done. I'm going to pair it with this agenda as well, and I'm questioning whether I want to play this with a trade token or not. I don't know that I'm going to get enough out of this, but activating a couple fleet power could be useful for scoring purposes. And then if I spend the trade token, I can also get rid of this crisis card. So that would be 1 last deactivation. Don't know why, but I am really struggling today. But yeah, I've got plenty of food. I've got the trade token. Let's spend it. I'm going to take all 3 actions and do the agenda actions. So we'll start with the agenda. I activate a fleet power and build an installation. So here's my 3rd sector defense in this outpost, and now that'll score well here. So now I need to do that again somewhere else. Now I will take the middle action. So I need to spend an energy and a credit. I have, I have 8 energy, that goes to 7, and 1 credit goes from 3 down to 2. And now I can gain an agenda and I can regroup. And I want a wealth agenda. I don't particularly like this one, so let's take the next 2 because I'm not going to have a number 5 glory token. The multipliers for bounty tokens and for reclaim tokens. I've made great use of this bounty token one, especially in the past, but I am not on a path for that today. Man, I really could have used something different here. But I'll take that one with the bounty tokens, and maybe I can replace this agenda later. This is going to hurt. Or maybe I just won't even slot it. I don't know if it'll be worth it or not. So, okay, I've done my agenda. I've done this part. Now I can regroup. I'm going to move 3 fleet power over to this sector. It's a dreadnought and 2 more corvettes. That's too many fleet tokens, but the turn is not over yet, so that's legal for now. I should have slotted this like a while ago, right? So now I'll take the top action. That's going to cost 1 food and 2 energy. So my food goes from 9 to 8. My energy goes from 7 to 5. And I can invade and then remove the corruption from that sector. So I'm going to invade the Falling House sector. I'm going to bring a Dreadnought, which will absorb 1 of the 2 approach damage. And I'll bring 2 Corvettes, 1 of which I'm going to lose. And that's where we're at. Should I send 1 more Corvette? You know what, we'll send the other Corvette as well. We'll do that. Okay, now I've won the combat. I lost 1 Corvette fleet power, so I'm going to gain this. I gain the glory token. I have a total glory of 1. So I go from 27 to 28. Man, I'm getting crushed. What is happening? And what else here? I can gain dreadnoughts or decontamination chambers. I already have dreadnoughts, so I'm taking decontamination chambers. That's 4 influence. So I go up to 32 now. And I can move a corruption. I'm going to move this one here from my sector to decontamination chambers, where I can store up to 2 corruption. Then my bonus for taking this sector, I moved it because of decontamination chambers. The tech allows me to. This bonus is to remove a corruption, so I'll take the one off of my house mat. And I can also build a scientist guild in this sector that I just took. So here's the scientist guild. My production level of science now goes up by 1. So the level goes from 8 to 9. My yield goes from 5 to 6. My total yield now is 6, and 4 is 10, plus 8 is 18. Getting real close to this 20, but not there yet. I would have been there by now if I had done some things in a different way. And now, all right, all this is done. I can flip this over. I can keep an extra tech there. Let's just keep decontamination chambers there so I don't forget that I have a tech slot available. So I've got one more. And now I've won that combat, so I can remove the corruption from this sector. Great. So now I have no corruption. The one on decontamination chambers doesn't really count. And now the last action, I can recall a fleet power from the map. Okay. To then activate 2 fleet power. So I've got a lot of active fleet power now. I've got 8 active fleet power. And I can upgrade a glory token, so this 1 gets swapped out for a 2. So now I'm right back where I started. Okay, now I need to return this to the Galactic board, and I'm going to spend 2 credits to do that. So let's spend those 2 credits. I go from 2 to 0. While I'm thinking about it, when I built the Scientist Guild, I do have Cybernetics, so I gain 2 science. That goes from 6 to 8. But now this crisis is done, so I can remove it. And I will slot this agenda, which I think is going to score pretty decently. And now I remove Heroic Conquest, and I believe that was turn number 3. Yeah, Temptation, and then Heroic Innovation and Heroic Conquest. So got 2 turns left. Let's see what the next alert card is. Okay, it's a war card. So we had Skirmish at +1 Voidborn Fleet Power. Currently looking okay in that regard. And if I successfully defend, then I can upgrade a glory token. So, okay, not too bad. Although if I don't do something about this new sector, I would lose it. So, And, okay, I think I'm going to be in good shape. I'm going to play Production. I'm going to pair it with this agenda card. And I'm going to use a trade token as well. So, I'm going to start with this top action, which is free. I'm going to increase my society track. That goes up 1, and now I can increase a pure population. And so I'm going to do that here in my outpost sector. So that goes from 2 to 3. So my science production goes up 1 level. Food production goes up 2 levels. And now my food production is 12, and science is 8, so that's 20. And I've got another 4 from energy, so I'm up to 24. So now this crisis goes away. That's completed. So that's going to make this war card a bit easier. So now I'm going to do the agenda action. I'm going to build a guild. I'm going to make that a miners guild. That goes right here. And I have cybernetics. So first I gain 2 materials. So I go from 0 to 2. And now my production level goes up 1. So my yield is 1, and now I produce materials, so I'm up to 3 materials, which is not a lot, but it's enough. So now I'll take the bottom action, which is free. I just produce resources. So I'm going to produce food. I have 8, and I produce 12, so that's an overproduction. Maxed it out. I've got 5 energy, and I produce 4. That gets me up to 9. I have 3 materials. I'm going to produce 1 and get to 4. And I have 8 science, and I produce 8. That gets me to 16. That is a second overproduction. My science is maxed. So that's 2 overproduce actions. So I go from 32 influence. I gain another 6. So I go up to 38. And I can build 1 level of safe haven for that. And I've just completed a safe haven. So I get one of those bonuses. So I know I don't need to remove corruption. Removing a harbinger is not a bad idea. Getting a couple fleet power on the map's a good idea. 3 resources could be helpful too, though. But I think let me stick with the Harbinger for now. I think because I've produced, I think I've got enough resources to get by. I kind of don't want to deploy fleet power before I score all my active fleet power, so I'll go with the Harbinger. Denying 10 points to the Voidborn is not a bad thing. So now I've got one more action. It's this middle action. It's going to cost 1 food and 1 materials. So my food goes down to 14, materials goes down to 3. And I'm going to choose to advance on my statecraft track. So that gets me into the next tier. I've unlocked another improved tech, and I gain a tech. So now I will take improved dreadnoughts, like so. That's going to get me 6 influence. So I go from 38 to 44. And now I can activate a fleet power, and I can deploy a dreadnought. My dreadnoughts are now not limited to 1 fleet power each, so I'll flip this over. Can hold up to 3, so I can deploy a dreadnought anywhere, and I think I probably need to deploy it right there. So that will cost me 1 material. I go from 3 to 2, and here's the dreadnought. Okay, I've got 2 dreadnoughts there, and I can slot this. Now that was my agenda action, all 3 of these actions, so I'm going to return the trade token to the Galactic board. And now I need to skirmish the Voidborn at +1 strength, so they should be at 1. That'll bring them up to 2, and I have 2 improved tech, so they have 2 salvo absorb. So let's just give you a little visual. Here is the invading 2 Voidborn fleet power, and they have 2 salvo absorb. So I'll just use these fixed population die for a second. They've got 2 salvo absorb. I have 2 dreadnoughts who are defending, so each of them has a salvo absorb. So I have 2 salvo absorb. So the total initiative, they have 2, and I have 1, 2, 3, plus a bonus 1 for having dreadnoughts, so that is 4. So there's no approach damage of any kind. So I have 4 initiative, they have 2. I fire first, they absorb it. They fire back, I absorb it. All right, next round of salvo, the initiative hasn't changed. I fire first, they absorb it. They fire back, I absorb it. Next salvo round, I fire first, they lose a fleet power. They fire, I lose a fleet power. I'll take the Corvette. Next salvo round, I fire first, and they have no fleet power left. So I have successfully defended the skirmish. I exchange the number 2 glory token for a number 3. And now I need to take care of the economic track. I need to pay 1 energy. I go down to 8. 1 materials. I go down to 1. Now that war card is defended. I also can slot this agenda. It will cost me a couple upkeep. It'll get me 4 influence. I do have enough improved techs. I guess 4 influence is better than no influence if I can afford the upkeep. So that was that round. We've got 1 more turn left in this cycle. Let's draw the crisis card, or again, alert card. It is a level 3 crisis. That's a dangerous way to end the cycle. We have an economic crisis. Dark profits. Before resolving a prosperity focus, choose to also corrupt a sector onto a sector that has 5 or more pure population. Otherwise, I can discard an agenda from my hand or played. You know what? I might just discard Quantum Leap. That one's not so great anyway. So I'm fine with that. What do I want to do to try and set myself up for the next cycle? I know there's going to be 6 turns, and I know I can build a guild during the Galactic event, so I want to leave this guild slot open. And you know what? I was thinking I was maybe going to play development, but actually I'm going to play prosperity now. Not for this purpose, but I just think it's going to be the best thing I can do. I'm going to take the bottom 2 actions. So I'll start with the middle action. I can produce 1 resource and gain 2 resources. So when I produce, I think I'm going to produce energy. I have 8. I'm going to get 4 more, get up to 12. Gives me something to spend. And then for the 2 resources I'm going to gain, I'm going to take 2 materials. Then I'm going to take the bottom action, which costs an energy and a material. So my resources are now at 14, 11, 2, 0, and 15. And I need to deactivate a fleet power, which I know I kind of want for that Galactic event scoring. But before we get to Galactic event scoring, I'll be building a level of safe haven anyway, so I'd be deactivating and taking this anyway, so it really didn't affect anything. And now I can gain an agenda and build an installation. So let's do the installation first. I would like a sector defense right here, and I'm going to spend 1 energy, not a credit, so I go from 11 down to 10, and now this crisis card is resolved. And also the agenda. I might want a dominance agenda type. I mean, I know I'm happy with my might agenda and my support agenda. It's either going to be a different wealth agenda or a dominance agenda. And it really comes down to, well, I guess both the scoring and what am I going to do with the action. And I think in both cases, the dominance agenda might be better, but I don't really want the one on top. So let's hope one of these is good. Even if I went for the wealth agenda, I would have been blind drawing anyway. Let's see here. So I was hoping for a multiplier like this for the society track because I might keep pushing that one, but I'll get it at least a tier 2, so that's pretty good. And then 5 influence for each pure sector with 2 or more upkeep. So that would be this one, and I could potentially get another. I would like to get another. So that's not such a bad idea. Otherwise, 4 more pure sectors with 3 or more population. I'd have to gain another sector, do some population increasing, which of course I can do with terraforming, which I don't want to forget. I want to do with prosperity this time. And then a multiplier for my economic track, which is my lowest. So I don't like that as much. So I'm going to keep this one, sustainable luxury. I'll put commercial syndicate back on the bottom. And now, yeah, it's the last thing. So I've done this, and I want to use my terraforming. So I no longer have to pay materials. I can just increase a pure population. You know, both my food and science production are pretty high. I don't know that I really need to keep pushing this one up. I don't know if it's going to help me that much, unless I can get it to 6 by the end of next cycle, and that might be useful. I don't know if I'm going to fill all this up though. Otherwise, I might like to increase this to try and get more materials production, really. So you know what, yeah, let's push this one up to 2. I think that's fine. Okay, so now my science production goes up by 1, level 11, and a yield of 10. And then materials level goes up to 2, yield is still 1, but hopefully I can keep that going. So okay, now I need to deal with this. I'm going to discard an agenda from my played area, put that on the bottom of the deck, and that takes care of this crisis. So my crisis board is clear, ignoring the 1 remaining harbinger, and we can go to the evaluation phase. So we're going to start with a skirmish, no corruption on my house mat, and I guess it's evaluation phase. We can discard this one from this card. So I've got no corruption anywhere and no modifiers here, but we are on cycle 2. So we're going to skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power. They will have the 2 salvo absorbs, but in the 2 places their 1 fleet power can go, they're going to get lost in the approach. So I win the combat. Now I need to pay the economic row, which is 1 material and 1 energy. So I do have a material, I do have an energy, and we're through that. Now I need to pay for upkeep. I've got 2, 4, 6 for my agendas, and then a 7th, 8th, and a 9th. So I will pay that with food. I've got 14 food. That's going to bring me down to 5. Upkeep is paid for. Now we can evaluate safe haven conditions, and I do still have a pure sector with 6 population and 3 guilds, so I'll build 1 level of safe haven right here. And now we check the Galactic event, and I am doing this bottom part. I have 8 active fleet power. Each one is worth 3 influence, so that'll give me 24 influence. That's pretty helpful. I go from 44, let's see, 48, 58, 68. And now we evaluate my agendas. Each pure sector is 2 influence, 2, 4, 6. So now I'm at 74. And each pure farmer's guild is worth 2, 2, 4, 6. So that's going to get me up to 80. What's next? If I have at least 8 science in my stockpile, and I have 15, yep, that'll do it. So that gets me 7 influence, so I'm at 87. If each pure sector I have with 3 or more installations, so that's just this one, is worth 6 influence. That's a really big multiplier. So that gets me to 93. I'd like to get a couple more of those if I could. If I have at least 3 pure farmers guilds, which I do, that's 7 influence. That's going to get me to 100 exactly. And each pure sector with 1 or more scientist guilds, 1, 2, 3, so all 3 of these, is worth 4. So that's another 12 influence. I am at 112, which is still a bit low, but better than I was doing last cycle. I've still got a long way to go to beat the Voidborn. I'm sure about that, though. If we just do some quick math, they start at 140. There's a rift, so they're at 170, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 30, 230, I should say, 240, 50, 60... 263 plus all the corruption. So they're probably in the 290s, and I'm at 112, so we've got to close that gap, and that's going to take a little work. But this was cycle 2, and that is a cycle 3 problem. So I'm going to go into the preparation phase. Again, I'll get rid of a trade token from the Galactic board. I'll refresh the heroic cards. I will refresh this whole thing going on here with the alert cards. I'll put all the new improved text on the Galactic board, and I'll replace the Galactic event with the one that we know is coming. I'll take all these focus cards back into my hand. So I'll go do all that, and I'll see you in cycle 3. All right, so I'm in cycle 3. I have done a lot of thinking before starting this cycle. I wanted to play all 9 of my cards. That is obviously not going to happen, but I think I've come up with the best plan that I can. I'm going to have to make some decisions on the fly, but I think it's looking okay. But I did notice that when I got my improved terraforming, I put it in a separate slot than my basic terraforming, so that's why this got moved over here to this spot, because that's where it should go. So I've actually got one more basic tech slot if I want it. And so I think this is going to be a pretty good third cycle. Whether it's good enough to beat the Voidborn or not is yet to be determined. Let's start with the Galactic event. I need to corrupt 2 agenda slots if possible, otherwise corrupt anything. I'm going to corrupt here, and then which one of these is scoring better for me? This one's scoring better right now, so I'm going to corrupt this one, but I do expect to remove those corruptions before the end of the cycle. Then I can add a 3-value glory token to a Voidborn or Fallen House sector. I'm going to put it right here. So I think I'm going to go in there and just grab it right away if I can. And then I can deploy a fleet power and build a guild. Let's deploy first. I'm going to deploy here, and I'm just going to send a Corvette. Right there. Okay, I've deployed one thing. And for my guild, I'm going to build a Banker's Guild right here. So because I have Cybernetics, I gain 2 credits. And now my credit production goes up 2 levels, so I have a yield of 1. So now we've got 6 turns to go. Let's see what happens with this first alert card. We have a level 3 alert. I'm not opposed to taking one more catastrophe this game, I think. But this is a... what is this? An economic crisis. It says reap what you sow. I think I've seen this one before. Gain 12 food in a single turn, including food lost to stockpile cap. Otherwise, corrupt an occupied agenda slot. I definitely don't want that bottom part. But I don't really plan on producing food either. The food production yield is 12 currently, so all I'd have to do is produce food and then that would be done. But that's not something I really want to do. Or put another way, I don't want to go out of my way to do that because my actions are so tight already. So I'm going to stick with my plan. I'll probably make that crisis ongoing. I'm not sure, but I'm going to spend temptation to take heroic temptation. That's how we're going to start. And I will pair it with this agenda. So let's start with the agenda action. I'm going to invade. Let me split up this Dreadnought fleet. And I'm going to move 1 Dreadnought and 1 Corvette into this sector here. And so there's no approach damage. I have 1, 2, +1 initiative for the Dreadnought being there. So I have 3 initiative to 1. I fire first and take out the only Voidborn fleet power. And now I've won the combat. So I've got a new sector. And all I get is the glory. There's 4 glory value there, plus the 3 I have. So I'm going to gain 7 glory. I go from 112 to 119. And I guess that's it for the combat. Not super exciting as far as combat goes. And now I'm going to take this middle action here. So I need to corrupt a track and then advance it. I'm going to corrupt my statecraft track and advance it. I don't get the bonus, but the bonus was activate 2 fleet power. I have no inactive fleet power anyway, so that's okay. And now I can advance any track. And I'm going to advance my society track, which now allows me to remove a corruption. I'll take this one back off of here. And I can also increase a pure population. And I'm going to do this one in this sector. So I can adjust my production tiles. The science one goes up 1 more level, credits goes up 1 more level, and materials goes up 1 more level. And now I'm going to take the top action. I need to spend 4 resources of any type, and I can mix and match if I want. I'm going to spend 4 science because we've got 15 of that, so I go down to 11. And now I can copy 1 action off of preferred focus. I'm going to copy off of production, and my plan was to copy this. I think I still want to do that because I think I'm going to complete that track, and that would be really nice. This crisis tempts me to copy this action down here to just produce all of my resources, which I really need. I need some more resources, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to stick with my plan. I'm going to advance this track. So I need to deactivate a fleet power. There is no extra cost for that. And move up to here. And now I can gain a tech. I do have 2 improved techs, but I've unlocked 1, 2, 3. So I can gain an improved tech. Although I am still questioning if that's what I want to do instead of that. I know the resources are going to be tight. I don't know how tight they're going to be. Like, I might really want to do this. If I do this instead, I won't get this into tier 4. That'll cost me the 20 influence, plus getting into tier 4 builds a level of safe haven. But if I do this, I will overproduce both food and science. And so that would build me a level of safe haven. So the safe haven will be sort of the same either way. The question is just, can I get by without producing resources? Because if I can, it'll gain me 20 influence, and that's a lot. You know what? I'll stick with what I'm doing. Let's hope this works. So I need to gain a tech, and I can gain an improved tech, and it's either going to be decontamination chambers or cybernetics. I really want it to be cybernetics again because the resources are going to be kind of rough, but decontamination chambers could get some corruption out of here. And that would be really helpful. And I know I won't be able to get both this game. And so my plan all along was kind of cybernetics, but I might go for decontamination chambers just to get some of this off of here because I want to be careful with taking catastrophes. I know I've got 2 more war cards in the deck, and they're the 2 more difficult ones. So you know what? To heck with it. I'm going to take decontamination chambers. Got the improved one, so that's going to get me 6 influence. I go up to from 119 to 125. That's a choice. And now I can remove a corruption, so I'll take this one off of here. And I can now store up to 3 corruption here. And during the evaluation phase, I can remove 1. But whenever I remove a corruption not from here, I can also remove 1 from here. So I think just the initial action was good enough to help me, because now when I complete this safe haven, I don't have to remove that corruption. I can probably remove a harbinger, and that would be helpful. So, okay, I've copied a preferred focus. Now I also gain 4 resources of any type. Oh man, I'm getting scared again. I'm looking around. I might not be able to pay upkeep at the end of this cycle. Should I have done this, or should I have just produced all my resources? Because I think I'm going to have a ton of upkeep, and if I can't pay for it, I might lose more than 20 influence, and that would be a problem. But, I don't know. I'll figure it out later. So, okay, let's grab those 4 resources. I'm going to make them 4 credits. I go from 2 to 6 credits. That is helpful. Now I'm going to slot this agenda that I've played. I'll get rid of Heroic Temptation. And you know what? I think I'm going to make this ongoing one way or another. It's not worth the catastrophe compared to whatever else I might get later. And there is still a chance that I will produce that much food because I think I'm going to have to. So, okay, let's draw the next alert card. It is a level 2 alert. Let's get the crisis card. And we've got a military crisis. This is extended conscription. Take the action on a support agenda while already having 2 or more active fleet power. I have the fleet power, but I don't have a support agenda. I don't plan on getting one. I don't think I'm going to take the action. Otherwise, you've got to corrupt an agenda slot. Why are all these things making me corrupt specific places when I have decontamination chambers? It's so unhelpful. I know I'm not going to do this, but again, I'm hesitant to use a catastrophe token because I know there's 2 more war cards coming, and this would not be a good time for a war either, I don't think. So for my next card, I'm playing production, and I'm going to stick with my plan. So I was wondering if I was going to do these 2 actions. I was wondering if maybe I should do this bottom one instead of this top one, but no, I will not be chased out of here. I'm going to stick with what I was doing. This may be folly. So I'm going to start with the top action. There is no cost, but I do have to deactivate 2 fleet power to enter this tier 4. So we make it in here. We get 20 influence. So I go from 125 to 145. That's a big one. And I can also build 1 level of safe haven. So let's do that. And what do I want to pick for my reward? Remove a harbinger is a good idea for the implications for the endgame scoring. Remove a corruption is very handy. But I'm now wondering, my plan was to continue advancing the statecraft track, and I was going to get up to here to be able to deploy to this sector. Excuse me, to this sector, which was going to get a farmers guild later. So I was going to use that deploy to add more fleet power there to then go up and invade those ancient ruins up there. But this lets me deploy 2 fleet power anywhere. If I just do that now, I won't need that action. And then that means I don't need to do this, and I could generate all these resources now. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. That seems like a pretty good idea. I'm going to deploy 2 dreadnoughts here, because I can go wherever I want. So I do need to pay 2 materials for that. So I have 1 material that goes to 0 and 1 credit. I've got 5 credits left. And now I guess that means I'm going to take this bottom action, which I desperately need. So let's, so instead of spending, I have to spend that credit. Okay, so I'm going to produce food. I produce 12 food and I have 5. So that overproduces. That's 1 overproduce. And I just produced 12 food, so that solves this crisis from last turn. Then I produce energy. I have 9. I produce 4, so that goes up to 13. I produce materials. I have 0, and I produce 2. And then I produce science as well. I have 11 and produce 12, so that is a second overproduction. I've maxed out my science. So for those 2 overproductions, I get 6 influence. I go from 145 to 151, and I can build a level of safe haven. So let's just put that right there. Might actually complete that last safe haven. I don't think I will, but I might. So, okay, that was production focus. I don't have anything else to do. So what am I going to do with this agenda? I really don't like it, but I'm going to corrupt this agenda slot to make this go away. Oh boy, I'm really fighting a battle. So let's take a look at our next alert card. We have a level 3 alert. Here we go. And we have an economic crisis. This is trade control. Gain a trade token while already having 2 or more trade tokens. The immediate penalty is I can spend a trade token and 3 resources. So this is definitely not going to happen. I can't take the immediate penalty because I don't even have a trade token to spend. So I guess that'll probably be ongoing and I'll just live with it. I don't think that's bad enough to take the catastrophe token. So let's keep going with our cards here. I am playing reinforcement to take heroic reinforcement. And I'll start with the top action. I'm going to spend any 4 resources. I'll spend 4 science. So I go from 15 down to 11. And now I can regroup, which I don't really need to do. I'm happy with where everything is. I can gain any 4 resources and advance my lowest track. So let's start by advancing my lowest track. That's my econ track. That goes up. Unlocks another improved tech should I need it, and now I can build a guild. And I do score for my scientist guilds, pure sectors of scientist guilds, and pure farmers guilds, but I don't know if I'm going to purify this sector by the end of the game, so for the time being, I'm going to do another bankers guild just to get the 2 credits with cybernetics. So I go from 5 to 7, and my production level on credits goes up 2 times, and my yield is now 2. And I still can gain 4 resources of any type. I think I'm going to do 2 science, actually, and 2 credits. I'm up to 9. Actually, I'm wondering, I paid 4 science at the beginning of this. Maybe I should have paid 2 science and 2 energy. So we have 13 energy. I don't need that much. Let's take the energy down 2 and bring the science back up 2. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And now for my other action, I'm going to take this bottom one. I need to gain a corruption. I'm going to put that on decontamination chambers. And I am going to choose to build 2 installations. And so that's going to be 2 more sector defenses in this sector here. So that should score pretty well for me. And that is it for my actions this round. I'm going to make this ongoing. Don't love it, but it's not the worst thing ever to make that ongoing either. It's just 5 points at the end of the game. So now we get rid of heroic reinforcement, and I believe that was 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. We are halfway through this crazy cycle. Let's keep going with the next alert card. It is a level 2 alert. No war card yet. And we have an economic crisis. This is centralized workforce. Build a guild in a sector with 5 or more population. Does not have to be a pure guild, but doesn't look like that's something I am prepared to do either. So the immediate penalty is we can corrupt the wealth agenda and spend 2 materials. I will probably take the immediate penalty. So now I'm going to play politics. And I no longer need to take this top action. That would have gotten me up to here. I would have put a bank or a farmer's guild there instead. So instead, I'm going to take the middle action and the bottom action. That's actually looking pretty good. I'm going to take the bottom action first, spend a credit. I go from 9 to 8, and I can move a corruption. So I'm going to move this one onto my decontamination chambers, and I can gain a trade token. So let's grab one of those. And what do I want my bonus to be? I think I've gotten to a good place resource-wise, so I want to just take the bounty token for an influence, because that's where the trouble is. And I get one that doesn't give me any influence. I get 1 resource of any type. So that was the worst possible draw. Guess I may as well take a materials. So I go from 2 to 3 since I'm planning on spending some material there anyway. That's too bad. Now I'm going to take this middle action. I need to spend 2 energy. I go from 11 to 9 and another credit, go from 8 to 7. And I can improve a glory token and I can invade. And I'm going to improve the glory token first. I'm going to turn one of these 3s into a 4. So here we go. And now I'm going to invade from here through the wormhole over to here. I'm going to take, I think, one of these dreadnoughts and leave it behind. No, I'm gonna leave 2 behind. I'm going to take 1 with me and 1 Corvette and go up to there. So there is a sector defense, but the Dreadnought as an attacker, if you can see up there, gives me 1 approach absorb, so I don't have to worry about that. Now we go into salvo. I have one initiative from the Corvette and 1 from the Dreadnought, plus 1 for having any number of Dreadnoughts. So I'm at 3. The Voidborn are at 2. So I fire first. They lose a fleet power, and they return fire. I'm going to lose the Corvette, and then the initiative will be 2-1 because, again, I have a Dreadnought. I'll fire first, and that'll be the end of combat. So let me reach way over there and get some cubes out. Okay, I made it. This comes back here. These all go away. Now let's resolve all that stuff. So I just won a combat, so I'm going to score 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 glory. I'm at 151. That takes me to 159. And then when you take over that sector, you get to gain a tech. And I am going to gain central surveillance. Right there. So that gets me another 4 influence. I go from 159 to 163. And I can also improve a glory token. I suppose I could have done this before I scored my glory. I'm going to swap the 4 for a 5, but I already did it, so I'll just leave it and live with it. Let's hope I don't lose by 1. But now I do have a number 5 glory token. I've decided I am going for this this wealth agenda and improve central surveillance, which will let me have another agenda. And then if I get that, I'll have 1, 2, plus central surveillance, plus decontamination, 4 improved techs. So that would be worth 21 influence to me. That's pretty good. So let's slot this here. And now when I play politics focus, like right now, I may decrease a pure non-home population to improve a glory token and gain an agenda. But I'm not sure I really want to do that right now. I don't need to improve the glory token because I don't expect to score my glory again. And I don't need the agenda because I know what my next 2 cards are. I'll get an agenda on the next card for the final card. So that would just let me look at more agendas to maybe dig through the deck a little more, which isn't the worst thing, but I don't know if I want to decrease a pure population for that. I don't know. Maybe I do. So I'll just show you. I am planning on doing innovation next and then development, and I'll take all 3 actions on innovation just by having that sector, the ancient ruins sector. I can spend a science to do that. Well, you know what? I kind of got what I wanted out of that sector already, I think. And it does have a lot of upkeep. If I do this action now, maybe I'll grab another dominance agenda and improve a glory token and then use that dominance agenda to invade this sector. And I can come in with 1 dreadnought here and 1 from there and just abandon the ancient ruins at that point, get another fallen house off the map, and then potentially get a better scoring dominance agenda. I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it. It might be. Maybe I'll give that a shot. So sure, I'll decrease a pure non-home population. I guess this one. I'll go from 3 to 2. So I'm going to have to adjust my dials. So science should be at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it goes from 12 down to 11. That's fine. Food should be at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that was more straightforward than I thought. Easy enough. So now that I've done that, I can gain an agenda and improve a glory token. I guess I'll make this 3 a 4. So that's okay. And then, yeah, let's grab a dominance agenda. So we'll take a look at the next 2. Hopefully I can find the multiplier for that statecraft one. And that's what I've got here. I do have 1 or more pure sectors with 6 population. And then, so I would max this one out. 16 plus 5 would be 21. What is this one scoring for me right now? 10, 20... Or I'm sorry, 5, 10, 15. So yeah, that would be a big improvement. I guess I'll do that. Get some more points. That's what I need. So that's the end of this turn. I'm going to slot this trade token for now. And I need to deal with this. I know I'm not going to be completing that action. So I will corrupt the wealth agenda like so. And then I need to spend 2 materials. I've only got 3. Maybe I'll do Maybe I'll do 2 credits because I'm running out of uses for those. It's politics I really needed credits for. All right, this can go away. And let's grab the next alert card. It's a 2. I can't believe we haven't seen a war card yet. So our crisis is an economic crisis. This is scientific breakthrough. While resolving a progress focus, trigger science overproduction. I could do that. Otherwise, skirmish with +1 Voidborn fleet power. That wouldn't be too bad, I don't think. And then add, if you successfully defend, add a sector defense to an adjacent Voidborn sector. I think I'll actually be okay on this one, taking the penalty. You know, I have 15 science and I produce 10 at a time, so if I played progress, I would easily trigger the overproduction, but that's not really what I want to do, not with the limited amount of actions I have left. I very much wanted to play heroic progress for the top 2 actions, but I just couldn't work it in. So instead, I will play innovation and I will pair it with this agenda. And because I currently control the ancient ruins, I can spend a science when I play innovation to take all 3 actions. So it works like a trade token. So I'll spend a science, I go down to 14. And now let's take the middle action first, spend 2 more science, I go down to 12. And I can gain a tech. And I have unlocked 1, 2, 3, 4 improved techs, and I only have 1, 2, 3. So I can gain an improved tech, and I will take improved central surveillance. So that will allow me to have an extra agenda at the end to score. So I think I need that this game. So another 6 influence. I go from 163 to 169, and I may spend 2 energy to gain an agenda. And I think I'll do that, and I'm going to use credits instead of energy. So I go down to 3 credits, and I'm going to gain a wealth agenda. So let's look at the, oh wait, Let's take this one because this is the one I've been aiming for. And I need to take this corruption. I'll put it on decontamination chambers. And now we replace it. And then later I'll take this action and be able to dig through the next 2 here. This I could score. I've been spending my credits, so that's not going to do very well. But I don't know. We'll see how the rest of this turn goes. So I've taken this action. Let's slot this tech. Now we'll take this top action. And yeah, I'm not going to go for this one. So I'm going to spend, instead of food, I'm going to spend 2 credits. I go down to 1 credit. And now I produce science and credits. So my science goes from 12 to 15. I overproduce it. Credits goes from 1 to 3. So I get 3 influence for the overproduced science. Go from 169 to 172. And what else am I doing? I gain influence for pure bankers and scientists guilds. So I've got 1, 2, 3 pure ones. That's another 3 influence. Not much, but I'll take it. I'm up to 175. It's going the right direction. I don't know if I'm going to go high enough. So now I'm going to take the bottom action, and that costs a food and a material and a science. I'll spend a material and a material and an energy and a credit. It doesn't take any science to gain an agenda. So I'm just going to take the next 2 wealth agendas just to see if any of these might work out better, even though I've been kind of aiming for that one. So this is the one in hand. I could pick one of these 2. I won't get another trade token, and pure sectors with no upkeep is sort of the opposite of this one that I've already been working on. So although I am going to replace that one with this one, doesn't matter. I've got all this upkeep now, so that's not a great fit. I do have 4 more improved techs. Every pair of pure sectors is 5 influence. I'm not doing so hot on that front. I would get 10 plus the 4 is 14. That's not going to beat this one. So I'll take this. This is better than this. And now I'll just put this on the bottom of the deck. And now I've just got an extra agenda. That's fine. But at least I had more opportunities to really get one that I thought would work well. But this was the one that was already on top, and I was kind of aiming for it. So we're sticking with it, I think. And now that I've taken all 3 of these actions, I'm going to take my agenda action, and I will invade this sector here. So I'm going to abandon this top sector. And that will cost me a glory token. I'll get rid of the number 1. Now I need to add 2 Voidborn fleet power and a bounty token to the ancient ruins. If it had a population, I would corrupt it. And I would leave any guilds, but I'd remove any installations that weren't pre-printed. So I'm going to invade with this fleet power and 1 more dreadnought from this sector. So each dreadnought has 1 approach absorb, so that gets me by the 2 sector defenses, and I win the combat without losing any fleet power. All right, so there's my glory. Here's this thing. Let's get our 10 influence. I go up to 185 now. And what else? I can deploy a fleet power to that sector. So let's do it. We might as well make it a dreadnought, right? So I'll spend one more credit and deploy this dreadnought. And what else am I doing here? Oh, I can gain combat replicators because I don't have it yet. I guess I'll grab it. It gets me 4 influence, so I go from 185 to 189. And I can activate a fleet power, sure. And I'm not going to have any more combat, so I'm not really worried about what it does. I can't gain another tech slot, so this just goes away. But it was nice to gain the influence for it anyway. Now that's the end of my turn, so I'm going to slot this dominance agenda by replacing this existing one. So the old one just goes back to the bottom of this deck here. And what am I going to do about the crisis? So I can skirmish at +1. I have 1 corruption on my mat, so +1 is going to be 2 Voidborn fleet power. So if 2 come in here, they're all going to get taken out by sector defenses. Same thing here. If 2 come in here, they're way outnumbered. So the initiative would be 4-2. I would fire first. They would lose 1. Then they would fire back. And as a defender, each dreadnought has 1 absorb during salvo. So I'd absorb it, and then I would fire back again the next round and win. Let's look at this one. If they come in here with 2, the initiative is tied. This is worth 2. They're worth 2. So we fire simultaneously. They lose 1. I absorb. Then the second round, the initiative is 2-1. I fire first, and then they're gone. So, okay, I survived the skirmish everywhere. So I need to add a sector defense to an adjacent Voidborn sector. So it doesn't really matter. Let's put it right there. And now that's it for these. They go away. So going into the last turn of the game, the final alert card is War card. Okay, so we're going to skirmish at the Voidborn have +5 initiative. So that is rough, but I think I'm going to be just fine. So for my last focus card, I am playing Development, and I'm pairing it with this agenda here. And do I want to use a trade token? I mean, I guess I might as well. Let's flip the trade token. We'll do all the things. Really would have liked to purify one of these 2 sectors before I started building it up, but that's not going to happen because I really want to score this agenda. So I'm going to start with this bottom action, spend 1 science. I go from 15 down to 14, and I'm going to remove a corruption, and because of decontamination chambers, I also remove 1 from there. So now all my agendas score. That was the most important part. So that makes my skirmish look way better, so I'm going to win that combat, no problem. For the middle action, I will return a fleet power. From the map, I'll recall 1 to build a guild and an installation in that sector. So there is a sector defense, and I'm going with a scientist's guild. Just on the off chance that I magically come up with a way to uncorrupt it, that'll score me some points. So my production level goes from 11, 12, 13. It maxes out at 13. So that's maxed, fine. Oh, and because I built a guild, I gain 1 science, the other 1 is wasted. And now I'm going to spend 1 material. I go from 2 to 1 to build another guild. Let's make it a miner's guild. Just to get a little bit more materials. That gives me 2 materials, and the level goes up 3 times from 3 to 6. All right. So wait a minute. I'm not going to do that. Go back. That goes back down to 1. This level goes back down to 3. Just hold that thought. I'll do it in a minute. Instead, for that action, I am going to build an installation, and I'm going to put a sector defense here. That might be needed for the end of cycle skirmish. So, okay, now that I've done that, now I'm going to do this agenda action, and I'll go ahead and build that materials or miners guild now. Now I get 2, and this goes up 3 times, and now I produce another 4, which gets me to 7 materials. I think that's a better idea since my food is already maxed. So that's the end of my turn. I'm going to return the trade token to the Galactic board. And this gets slotted because of central surveillance. So I've got might, support, dominance, and wealth. So no repeats, but I have 1 additional agenda in place. So that's great. Let's go ahead and just solve. We'll just do this skirmish. So we're going to skirmish at normal fleet power So just 0. There's no modifiers. So I win the skirmish. I need to add 2 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. Or I suppose it really does say twice add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So I'm going to go here and here. I think it's fine. It really doesn't matter. It won't affect anything. And now I need to pay for the economic row. So that's going to be a material. I go to 6, and energy I go to 7, and a science I go to 14. And now the war card is gone. So that is it for turns. We are going into the evaluation phase, starting with once again evaluating the crisis board, but with +1 Voidborn fleet power. So I've got at least 1 sector defense everywhere, so that's going to take out the Voidborn fleet power. So I win the skirmish. I need to pay the economic track 1 more time. So 1 more material, 1 more energy, 1 more science. Now I need to pay for upkeep, and this will be big, but not as big as it was when I held the ancient ruins. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 upkeep from my slotted agendas, and then another 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's going to be all my food. Luckily I have 15 food. Now I have 0 food. Upkeep is paid for. Now we evaluate for safe havens. Yep, I've got one of those. I'm going to deactivate a fleet power to build a level of safe haven. Not quite enough to complete it though, sadly. And 1 more fleet power cube there would have been a 30 victory point swing, a 30 influence swing. So that's a little bit painful to see, especially knowing I probably could have gotten this up to 6, but I needed to increase this a couple times with cybernetics. Or no, I didn't, because I never had improved cybernetics. So I don't know. I guess I needed the material production at some point, but really would have been nice if I could have just gotten 1 more fleet power cube there. Then I could have gotten 20 less influence for the Voidborn for the safe haven, plus another 10 for, I assume I would have taken a Harbinger off the map. But here we are. Although, you know what, now that I'm sitting here staring at it, I am realizing that, once again, I always forget this. I forgot to use terraforming on my last 2 turns, both innovation and development. If I had done that, I could have increased that 3 pure population up to 5. And then on the very last turn when I played development, when I spent that science, instead of removing the corruption, I could have increased the pop to 6. And then in the evaluation phase, when I checked for completed safe havens, I would have had 1 more, and I would have completed 1 more safe haven and used the bonus to remove that same corruption. So that would have got me to the same place corruption-wise, and my score would have been the same, but the Voidborn score would have been 20 lower for the safe haven and another 2 lower. No, the corruption would have been the same, but it's too late. I already scored up the game, but I guess I could have done it if I was paying a little more attention to my terraforming ability, which I tend to forget about. So, whoops. So let's look at the Galactic event. I can score any pure agenda, non-starting agenda that I have. So I'm going to take the one that is worth the most, going from right to left. This one is 22. This one is going to be 21. So this one's winning. This one is going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that's not great. 12 plus another 7 is 19. Okay, this one's still winning. And finally, this one is going to be same thing. That's 12 plus another 7. So, okay, this one's going to go twice. So 4 improved techs. This, don't forget, decontamination chambers here is improved. I guess it's the evaluation phase. I can remove 1 more of these, but I guess that does matter for the end of the game. Doesn't matter for me, but it's 2 influence for the Voidborn because it exists. So, okay. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 improved techs. That's 16 plus another 6 because I have a number 5 glory token. So 22 influence. I'm at 89, 189. 90, 91, 201, 211. Okay, now it's time for agendas. So from left to right, let's score these. How many pure sectors do I have? Only 3. Not great. That's worth 6 influence. That gets me up to, let's see, from 211 to 217. And then pure farmers guilds, 1, 2, 3. So another 6 influence. So 223. Okay, it's going the right direction. This is going to be a close game, I think. I know I just figured all these out. I think it was 22, 21, 19, and 19. Let's just double check. So do I have at least 8 science in my stockpile? Yes, I have 13. So that's 7 influence. That gets me up to 230. And then each pure sector with 3 or more installations, I've got 2 of those, is 6 each. So that's 12. So I go up to 242. Then if I have at least 3 pure farmers guilds, which I do, 7 influence, that's going to be 249. Each pure sector with 1 or more scientist guilds is 4. These 3 sectors here, so that's going to be another 12. That goes to 51, 61, I'm at 261. If I have at least 1 pure sector with 6 population, which I do, 5 influence, that's 266. Whatever tier my pure society track is in, multiplied by 4, I'm in tier 4, so that's going to be 16. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. That gets me up to 282. Now, this one, I do have a number 5 glory token, so that's 6 influence. So that gets me to 288. And then each improved tech is 4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 16 more. So it's going to be 94, 04, 304 influence. It will be close. This is going to be close. I'm scared. All right, 304. That's a pretty decent score, though. Let's find out what the Voidborn did. They're going to start at 140 for hard mode. There is an open rift. I made no attempt to do anything about that. We're at 170. And there is an incomplete safe haven. That is 20. We're at 190. 1 catastrophe token gets us to 210, so we're within 100 points now. 3 harbingers on the map. That's another 30. 1, 2, 3. So we're at 240. No consumed techs. 1 ongoing crisis for 5. We're at 245. No remaining fallen houses. So now we need to add up all the corruption in the game, multiply it by 2. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 16. So it's going to be 51, 61, 261. I think I'm gonna get it here. And population in Voidborn sectors. So there's 6 and 4, that's 10. 4 and 3 and 3 is another 10, that's 20. 21, 22, that's it, 22. So 63, 73, 83. So we did it. So final score for House Thegwyn, we're at 304, and the Voidborn are at 283. So if it wasn't for getting this 5th agenda with central surveillance, I never would have made it. So wow, what a finish that was. That was a wild 3rd cycle. There was a lot of setup in cycle 1, and it did not all pay off. I think I played it okay. Cycle 2, I started to turn around some, and then cycle 3 took just an unbelievable amount of planning. I probably sat there for 45 minutes looking at my cards, and unusually, I wanted to play all 9 cards. A lot of times there's like, well, I know I'm not going to play this 1 or these 2. But I really wanted all 9 of them. They all had great stuff. So I think this was a decent enough compromise. I don't know that I did any one thing really well, but we did enough things to get by and beat the Voidborn today. So this is, of course, coming out in December of 2025. This is my last Voidfall video of the year. I'm excited that I made it through the entire compendium in 2025 on hard mode. Mostly wins, but not all of them. And the Voidfall playthroughs will continue next year. So if you like this type of video, first let me know by leaving a like. You can share it with somebody else who might like it. If you're watching this when it's new, you can hype it. Leave a comment down below. Love to talk to you about Voidfall. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. There will be lots more Voidfall stuff. 2026 is going to be the year of Voidfall. Just you wait. And then please, if you have not done so yet, please consider heading over to my Ko-fi page. If you're watching this Voidfall video, you're part of the core audience. I am making this stuff for you. So if you have the ability and the inclination, I wouldn't mind if you went over to the Ko-fi page and made a donation to the channel. It can be a one-time thing, it could be a recurring thing, but it really is useful for me. As far as funding goes, the channel is not self-sustaining yet, so I can use any help you can muster. But other than that, I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed watching this in beautiful 4K, I'll remind you. And I've still got other great videos coming this year, so stick around. But that's it for this one, so thank you so much for watching Table for One, for enjoying Voidfall, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great week.